in studio with me right now. He's an 8-time Emmy Award-winning journalist, anchor, reporter extraordinaire for 13 ABC, Bill Horman.
You read the bio.
Yeah, definitely.
Somebody did.
Definitely. You've been all over. One place you were not all over, well, couldn't go all over, was last year, the Toledo water crisis. And it seemed like every time I turned on the TV, there's Bill.
Well, I've looked at the tape and I've cut it up, just to see how we performed that day, if we got the information across we wanted to in the best way possible. And I think Melissa and I, who were out there, Melissa Veitch, we were out there outside the FEMA Center. I think we were on the air something like 5 hours when you total up all our hits. We were on a long time. That tended to be the place of action. That's where all the brains were gathered that day and the following day.
The toughest thing, I've been in a TV newsroom and we've done the whole, here comes a blizzard, which, you guys can predict that. There's
Right.
no way you can see a crisis like water not going out. So take me inside the editorial meeting or the quick phone calls that said, hey, you got to go live. We're not sure how long it's going to be.
Well, Dave, I can't take you inside because it pretty much happened that way. I woke up that Saturday morning like most of us did. I think it was 7:30. I never watch television on a Saturday morning. We have 2 twins. They were 2.5 at the time. So we don't watch television in the morning, and I see what's happening. For some reason, I turned it on, and I saw 13 ABC in the coverage, knew immediately we had to get in. They immediately dispatched me and Melissa to our spot. What went on after that, we don't know, because I'm sure it was a lot of seat of your pants. As you can imagine, we hadn't been through this before. Blizzards you can predict. Tornado coverage, you've done it before, you'll do it again. This was completely new.
As with anything, and we just had Dr. Isabel Escobar on here before, and we were talking about how people are panicking.
Yeah.
During that time, that weekend, how much of the coverage was just dispelling rumors?
A part of what we were doing was trying to learn what was happening, and I think the administration itself really didn't have a good footing as to what was happening, what testing standards were, and did we send enough samples in to get them tested properly? There were some rumors about that turned out not to be true, that I was told from administration people. It was information that was coming to them, going through us. We're supposed to be the sieve, and sometimes if they get it wrong, we get it wrong, and so we disseminate information that isn't always accurate. But there was information that day. For instance, the big one, I think, when we all woke up, we were told we could not shower. That was dispelled pretty quickly, within a couple of hours. And I think that really deflated the situation a lot, because it's one thing to tell me I can't drink it. If it touches my skin and there's a problem, I remember I woke up that morning and I said, darn it, I'm going to take a shower anyway. I've got to be on television. The rest of the day, my skin itched. And I talked to David Grossman about it, and he said, jokingly on camera, he said, well, then you've got another problem, because that really isn't an issue now. They were a bit wrong. It needed to be 20 parts per billion. We were only at 2.1 parts per billion.
Wow. Bill Horman, Emmy Award-winning anchor, reporter for 13 ABC, is my guest. If you have a question, you can call us at 419-214-1370 or tweet us at TheRelevantU. Tell us about the other situations that may have involved it. Were there other things that happened to play during that weekend that maybe were unexpected besides the obvious, we don't know? Because I think Sunday night when it happened, or Sunday night, you were waiting for a press conference, and then it got delayed, and then delayed. What were some of the fears, or what was some of the talk at that time?
Mike Collins wanted to make very sure that he had a triangulation here. They set out 3 sets of tests. They wanted to make sure that they all came back and had some sort of an agreement. You didn't want to have 2 that said one thing and the third said something else, which one's an outlier. So that was part of the reason. We were waiting for the test results to come back. But you're right. It was supposed to be 7 o'clock, then 9 o'clock, then 1 o'clock. I think it ended up going off at 2:30 in the morning. I was there. I stayed all night for it because it was important information that we had to get out to the people.
As a news team, what did you learn from covering that?
That we're agile, that sometimes having no plan is the best plan, because then you can react more quickly. Everybody jumped on board on our station, and they were there where they needed to be. What I learned about the administration, though, was I thought they handled the water dissemination really, really well. First, you had to find water supply sources for bottled water and so forth. Then you had to logistically find a way to get them here. And then you needed to find places where you could distribute that water. I think they did that very well. They did it very quickly. And At one point, the mayor tried to get people to not wait at the water distribution centers before the water got there, but you knew people were going to do that. But he tried his best to deflate some of that panic.
I have to say, you bring up a great point. At some of those distribution sources, I think Springfield High was one. Mm-hmm. I can't remember the other.
Catholic Central, I believe.
That's right. Yeah. It was very well organized, not a lot of chaos.
Right. And a lot of stores had received some supply. I think by that time, folks knew, okay, I can bathe. I'm okay there. We can get by for a day or two. And I think everyone sort of had the sense that by the end of the weekend, this was pretty much going to be wrapped up. And by 10 o'clock Monday morning, it was. I think watching the media also helped people, and they understood the enormity of the project here, and a little bit of patience was going to get us through.
Speaking of, I guess, not bathing, but you said you did shower.
Yeah, I did.
So when you went to the treatment or the FEMA center, how long were you there?
Well, I got there, I guess it was about 9:30 Saturday morning. I did not leave until 1 o'clock Monday night. I was had 56 hours of coverage, I think, on 13 ABC, and I was there for like 48 hours of it, something like that, yeah.
And while you were on the air, how much social media activity was happening?
A lot of it. You know, we try in every platform. You have to. That's where people are, and that's where, for instance, we would learn some information, Melissa and I, and that's the easiest way to get it to somebody fast. Or else we're waving at a camera, trying to get a producer to notice us, so that we can go on and they can set all the controls, and that can take some setup time. Social media, it's instantaneous, both a blessing and a curse. Because when rumors start to run rampant, they spread like wildfire on social media, and that we had to watch out for.
You know, covering a crisis like this in the newsroom, it's one of those, oh no, this is a real serious situation. Yeah. But in newsrooms, the adrenaline pumps, doesn't it, a little bit?
Well, you know, that's if you're a journalist of any serious note, you live for the breaking news. Maybe not as serious as this was, but we knew that folks are going to turn to us, and that's our responsibility. We are among the first responders. You know, we're there to report what's going on and disseminate the information as best we can and as completely and accurately as possible.
You've been in many markets, Kansas, Maryland, Ohio, D.C. Yeah. Did that compare to anything?
Gosh, I can't think of anything. It was probably, as far as stories go, the biggest one I've covered. Other than individual stories that I find important. No, this was the most important because it affected 500,000 people. It affected a precious resource. Remember, this isn't just drinking water. This is also a marketing tool for Northwest Ohio. Talk to the people in California about water right now. And we have it, and we have to protect it. And so it was an important story on many levels.
So now, because it seems like people are panicking, even though every official says things are good.
Right.
Does 13 have a plan in place in case it happens?
Well, every day we're trying to do a water story. Every day we're monitoring the websites that the city has set up. We're going to follow the model that worked so well for us last year. But we're trying to alert people and not alarm them. And right now there's nothing to be alerted about other than there is this pea soup in our lake, but it's not over the intake valve, and that's what's important. But quickly, two things we cannot control. We can't control the wind. We can't control Mother Nature, and those are important. If it rains a lot, we can't control that. If the wind comes in the wrong direction, we can't control that. Everything else, though, I think the city and county and state and federal officials have done a pretty good job in trying to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Bill, I want to thank you for your time tonight.
Thanks for asking.
Coming in.
You bet.